Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid-South Wrestling Review Series for the 23rd of March 1985, and we are fast approaching the end of 80, well, not the end of 85, but the midpoint of 85, and we're going to get through the end of 85. 150 plus episodes of the Mid-South Series, over 1,000 audios available, interviews, and wrestling review series here. The goal is to become the largest audio review series on YouTube. Anyway, Ted DiBiase is not happy with losing the North American Championship. Basically, says he is the face of Mid South Wrestling. He's annoyed with everything, and the frustration point is notable. He believes that he has been interfered with. He believes that Terry Taylor has stolen his spotlight and stolen his ability to be successful. Also, Butch Reed comes out, makes a challenge to both DiBiase and for the North American Championship, basically implying that he wants to be the one to defeat Terry Taylor. Butch Reed, of course, a former North American champion in his own right, and the fact that he has that distinction and the expansion of the promotion is a pretty big thing there. Obviously, he's been one of the bigger baby faces in the area for a little while, and uh, then we move to the uh, brawl between. This is an angle heavy show, by the way. So usually angle heavy shows reviews are a little bit shorter. The Dirty White Boys and the um, Rock and Roll Express pretty well brawling. They were about to have matches. Street clothes from the Dirty White Boys, and they brawl all over the arena. Lots of punching, kicking, and the like. Referees, there's three officials having difficulty breaking these guys up. They basically go all around the arena and continue their brawl. Not necessarily sure that I would have done this with them at the time, although it's a sign maybe the tag team division dropping off. General Skandor Akbar basically says that his army is stronger and tougher than ever, basically implying that he wants to get his hands on Hacksaw Duggan or members of his army to do it. He also doesn't think that what's happened to uh, the North American Championship is correct, and then we go into the first full official match of the day. In this case, that's the Barbarian and Josh Stroud. Stroud has been here before. Barbarian big enough he's stepping over the top rope, which is usually a real big sign of the power and mass of a guy. Anyway, Barbarian shrugs off Shroud, who is not impressed with the Barbarian at first. We see big body slam by the Barbarian. Barbarian with a diving elbow. He has yet to really face a major challenge. I guess the closest thing to a challenge would be his match not too long ago with Iceman King Parsons' Irish Whip and a hard shot there. And I'm going to grab my phone, but we'll be back in two shakes of a lamb's tail. And obviously, as mentioned, the Barbarian has been a guy that they're not necessarily building around yet, but I mean, it's in line with what Bill Watts really likes in terms of style of talent, so that's there. Like I said, big body slam by the Barbarian, and he again goes for more of a power assertion. Second body slam. Stroud giving him more challenges than normal. Big kick to the face, and then the almost a clubbing clothesline followed by a full Nelson. Lifts him up off the ground with the Nelson. So, kind of a bit of a challenge there. Challenge made by Butch Reed to the Barbarian, basically saying that he isn't as impressed with the Barbarian as the Barbarian and Akbar are with the Barbarian, and kind of the inference is I'm more powerful, both in history of Mid South and in physical practicalities. Shawn Michaels and Private Terry Daniels, which is an interesting babyface tag team. Should it have continued, which it does not, outside of a couple matches here, against Ted DiBiase and Dr. Death Steve Williams. DiBiase and Williams obviously have been teaming for a while. Basically, new estimation of the Rat Pack. I still can't get over in Shawn Michaels in these green tights that he wears. It's just interesting. Yellow and green are the colors yellow, red, and green actually are the colors of Daniels and Michaels. So I don't think they necessarily have a full time partnership ahead. Working over the arm of Dr. Death. Dr. Death off the rope with a really hard clothesline on Terry Daniels. I mean, or Daniels sold it like $1,000,000. Probably a little bit of both. Big body slam by DiBiase. DiBiase comes in and kind of is dominant. Williams comes back in, uses more of the collegiate style. Front face locks and basic stuff. DiBiase sends his opponent off the ropes. Daniels with a kick under the chin. Actually, one of my favorite recent matches from the last probably 4 to 6 months of the program was the Terry Daniels DiBiase match. Just really well done. Running clothesline by DiBiase. DiBiase uses things to his advantage. Big power slam by DiBiase. DiBiase with one of the better power slams. To think that he and Michaels would end up having a mini series in the WWF on some house shows a few years later was a really cool run. DiBiase wins with the figure four leg lock. Then we go to Terry Taylor and Kamala. Maybe that's why they've been protecting Kamala for so long here. I don't really know. But needless to say, Terry Taylor is your new North American champion. At least I believe he is still the champion here. Yeah. Actually, doesn't ring the bell, so maybe this match was taped beforehand. Anyway, Taylor up and around, obviously having some difficulties with Kamala. Kamala using the size advantage to try and get after Terry Taylor. Friday on the outside, size advantage by Kamala. Several chops by Kamala, and not exactly a big surprise that he's overpowering his adversary here. Lots of double chops and basic stuff under the chin and making sure that everything goes according to plan. Big lift by Taylor, and Taylor manages to come back with a good bit of shots there. And ultimately, Kamala with several attempts at chokeout and doesn't get all he wants on that, but chops and punches to the back of the head. Kamala goes to the nerve hold he normally uses in this type of scenario. Taylor, though, not backing down, actually standing toe to toe with Kamala a little bit, which is kind of unbelievable if you think about it. Meanwhile, Kamala tries to get a victory, doesn't get all he wants on the splash, gets enough, but not exactly a lot to write home about, and kicks by Kamala in order to get things going back his way. Chops to the top of the head, among other things, on Terry Taylor. Kamala dominates the majority of the match in terms of offensive maneuvering, and Taylor, not willing to take a backward step here, manages to get caught under the chin with a couple of shots, and Kamala tries to choke out his adversary there. Ultimately, it is what it is, and Kamala manages an Irish whip, ducks the clothesline, and Taylor manages to miss a drop kick along the way. Kamala goes to the top rope, and that's a little kind of awkward because there's no way that he was going to make the jump. Brings Taylor back in the hard way. Doesn't get, everything going that way either. But the things are managed, I guess, a little bit there. And Taylor hits a few shots. The attempted Irish whip out of the corner doesn't get what he wants. Referee goes down. Gets squashed in the corner. Taylor gets a visual pin. Jake Roberts runs in. Roberts is standing under Kamala and enables a trip fall pin. Meanwhile, Kamala is angry and goes after Jake Roberts. Goes after everybody, and the only thing that calls him off is Kemshi or Friday and Akbar. Four-way tag team elimination match is your main event for the day. Rock and Roll Express and the Dirty White Boys there. They're given about a Or actually, no, I am completely wrong with that. That must be another week. Jake Roberts is here. Jack Victory is here, and um, other members of the enhancement talent. Brad Armstrong and Tom Pritchard are here. Um, and again, that's kind of a bit of a bit of a basic thing. Pritchard with the head scissors takeover tries the uh, lock around and the hold up. Manages the kickoff on Ricky Morton does. And Pritchard with a sunset flip doesn't get all he wants on that. Morton off the ropes and manages to roll through 1-2. And again, lots of chaos with the tag matches. Um, Tag off, and Roberts gets caught with a crossbody from Armstrong. And again, I mean, this match feels really like a throw together just for the sake of filling time. Roberts slinks back to the corner, gets a tag off to Jack Victory, and the head scissors takeover. Roberts with that. Armstrong manages to get caught by one of the Dirty White Boys in kind of a brawling situation. White Boys clean house for a couple of minutes, clothesline on Armstrong for a while. Um, and the White Boys are actually quite dominant. Meanwhile, Tom Pritchard comes back in. He manages to get a roll up attempted, but manages to get clotheslined in the throat by the other White Boy on the outside. And that leads to an elimination. Their action continuing. Post a commercial break, it is done back in the old days, but not nearly as much as normal for today's standards anyway. Robert Gibson coming off the ropes manages to get everything he wants there, and a knee lift by Gibson. Gibson sends one of the Dirty White Boys into his own corner, makes the tag Jake Roberts and Robert Gibson in the ring for a bit. Roberts with a sliding elbow, and then Jack Victory tagged back in. Robert Gibson and Victory going at it, but Jake Roberts hits a knee to the spine. Then Jake Roberts manages his own dominance there. Tag off to one of the Dirty White Boys. I guess the idea behind this is to get the White Boys at the level of the Rock and Roll Express in a quick and efficient way. Don't know that it works completely, but the Dirty White Boys are in the ring for a good majority of the match there. Some shots, and the hard shot by one of the Dirty White Boys. Tag off back to Roberts. Roberts is so good at just kind of being slinky and sneaky and difficult upon occasion. Needless to say, he's roundabout there. And the tag off as a slowdown on Robert Gibson is had. Roberts and the members of the Dirty White Boys are trying to eliminate, perhaps once and for all, the Rock and Roll Express. Doesn't necessarily work, but there's a good tag off by the Dirty White Boys, and several more knowledges there. Gibson been in far too long, needs to make the hot tag. Roberts manages to tag off to Victory, and the Robert Gibson been in the wrong corner for far too long. Actually does get close to his own partner, but then we see the double drop kick by the Rock and Roll Express. They get a victory there, and action still continuing. Joel Watts kind of they don't give us a complete finish to the match. Instead, they show a music video of Kerry Von Erich about coming to Mid-South, which is weird since he's already been there. Maybe they're just trying to extra hype it. I don't really know. But anyway, that is that, and we will move on to the next week in March of 1985. We'll be back right after this.